In today's lesson, we're going to look at functional expression. In JavaScript, function can also be defined as expression. So we can define a function and then as an expression. So in functionals, only work for functional expression, not for functional expression. So in the previous class, we said that a function can be hoisted, meaning that you can actually call a function before you declare the function. However, in function expression, hosting does not work. Hosting works for function declaration. So function expression are convenient when passing function as an argument to another function. So we can see this example. So you can see function being declared as an expression. So x, which is a variable, is declared is f, which is a variable, is given a value of a function. So in this, you can see an example here. X is declared and initialized to a function, and you can see that we log x now of 4 with a parameter num, so an argument of 4. We will see that this way of writing a function is called a function expression. So at this right hand side, you can see in the function declaration, the syntax is function, the function name, and then parentheses, and curly braces. In this case, our function is not given a name. So this function is called an anonymous function. So we are declaring a variable s and assigning to an anonymous function. So this is called a function expression. So the function above is called an anonymous function. So here we are having variable x initialized to an anonymous function. And this anonymous function has a parameter called num, that's returning a product of num and num itself. So an anonymous function is not accessible after initialization. It can only be accessed by a variable it is stored in. So on that, let's look at what arrow functions. An arrow functions expression is a compact alternative to traditional function expression with some semantic difference. So arrow function was introduced in year 6. Unlike the function expression, you can see that before the arrow function, we write our function expression just like we see in the last class. Hello, which is a variable, is assigned to an anonymous function without a name. Now, with an arrow function, what's the difference? The function keyword has been removed, and then we have an arrow, and then you can see the syntax. We no more have the function keyword. We have our parentheses and an arrow, then a curly bracket. We can make this function even shorter when we have just one value to return. We just have just one statement. So you get sometimes the function has only one statement when it returns a value. You cannot remove the bracket. So in this case, you can see this our arrow function here. You just have one statement, which is the return value. But because it has one statement, you can even make it shorter by removing the curly braces. So our previous function is now written in this way, in one line. So arrow function with parameters. So in the previous arrow function, we do not have parameters. So parameter, all you do is to put those parameters in the parentheses, and then as usual, if you have just one statement returning a value, after the arrow, you can put down the return value. If you have only one parameter, you can even skip the parentheses as well. So this has been reduced to this. So in the last lesson, we talked about a function, and we said in the declaring function, we use a function keyword and then the name of the function. In that case, I use BMI, then the parentheses, and then curly braces. Now, so this kind of function is called a named function. You can see this function has a name, which is what? BMI. Now, if I remove this, you can see our function now our expression is not having it. So this function is called an anonymous function. And when you declare this kind of function, you cannot access it except you assign it to a variable. So I can say variable BMI is equals to this. So this particular function way of declaring a function is called, this kind of function is called an anonymous function. And this way, in this particular way, we are declaring a function as an expression. So this is called a function expression. It's called a function expression. And so when we are calling the function now, we can call it using the variable we have assigned that anonymous function to. So in our usual way, we are expecting a weight. We are calculating BMI a weight. We're expecting weight. Let's call it W and height. And then what we want to return to our BMI is weight times height times height. So when calling the function, the variable name which we declare initially is what we will use. So say PMI, what do we want to assign our weight, for example, 1.74, and let's say 65. So if I do a node index.js, I should get my BMI. Okay, let's log it. Console.log. So you can see. So okay, this should be my weight. 65 is my weight here. I change it and 1.74. So if I run this, I will get 21.46 as usual. So this is called a function expression, and this will not work. Function expression is not hoisted, so I cannot call my function before declaring it. If I do that, you can see I'll get an error. BMI is not a function. Yes, but in function declaration, function declaration is hosted, while function expression is not hosted. So let's look at hosting with function declaration. If I change this to function declaration, so my BMI will now go here. So this is going to work because function declaration is hosted, but function expression is not hosted. So you can see this works. Okay, let me know this so we don't get confused. So we are calling the function before we declare the function, right? So in this case, if I run this, I'll get an answer. But function expression is not hosted. So these are a function expression. So you can see in function declaration, our function follows the normal syntax with function, then the name of the function in parentheses. While in function declaration, in function expression, we wrote an anonymous function. That's a function without a name. An anonymous function cannot be accessed except it's assigned to a variable. So you can see another function the syntax is function keyword without a name. You put your parentheses. So in function expression, we are assigning an anonymous function to a variable. So if I run this, in this case, our function expression is not wasted. So it's going to give me an error. So if you are using a function expression, ensure that you are calling the function after initializing or creating the function. So this time this will work. Okay. So what's now the difference between this and an arrow function? In ES6, arrow function was introduced. So arrow function, unlike the traditional way of writing our function expression, as we've written now, in arrow function, in arrow function, we no more have this function keyword, and then we introduce an arrow. So this becomes an arrow function. You can see the difference. What we just did to our traditional function expression is that we remove the function keyword and then added an arrow. So this is an arrow function. And so if I run this, I should get the same thing. Now, because arrow function even makes the code cleaner, readable, and even shorter, the syntax shorter. So in arrow function, if you are writing just a single statement, so you can see in this my function execution block, which is my curly braces, I just have a statement, and this statement is just returning our BMI, which is width divided by height times height. So in arrow function, once you have a single statement returning, so you can remove your curly braces and remove the return. And so I've substituted the reducing by function to just a statement. So if I run this will work. Now, if your parameter is just a single value, let us see for example, I'm passing sum, I'm passing a value, let me call it W. And I just want to return W times 2. That. So this is going to give me, and my argument I'm passing 65. So this 65 times 2, which is 130. So if I run this function, I should get 130. That's good. So in arrow function, if you are passing in if you are writing just one argument, one parameter, so you can remove these parentheses. So I've even make it even more shorter. So our arrow function becomes something like this. So we're going to still return the same 130. So in our next lesson, we're going to take up what we have learned to build a BMI calculator. So thank you. Welcome to this class. In this class, we are going to be constructing a simple BMI. We have a HTML page where users can enter their height and weight, and then on submission of this button, you want to calculate the BMI of the user, and then show the user their BMI. So in our own case, we want the user to enter, for example, a height and then a width, and then on click of this button, we want to calculate the BMI and display to the user. So this is what our code looks like. So we have our basic HTML code, and that's we wrote for this particular web page BMI. So let's go to our JavaScript and look at it. Look, see, I've written the step we're taking. So this is our function declaration. This is our function declaration, which is calculate BMI. And so we are calling this function on click of this particular button. So this is our event, which is on click event. So on click on this, when this event is emitted, we want to call this particular function, which is calculate BMI. So back to our web page, on click of this button, it emits an on click event, and they want to call JavaScript function that will calculate this BMI and then show it to our users. So going back to our code, so this is the button. So on click of this button, we are calling this particular function, which is calculate BMI. So we'll go to calculate BMI function and write and do what we're supposed to do. So this is an event, which is on click event, that has been emitted when you click on the click of the button, and then it calls this function. So let's go back to our JavaScript function. just for us to know, just for us to test, I'm going to log console.log. You just click me. Let's see if this is actually true, that the function is called when we click the button. So I'm going to go to our console. So when you click the button, you can see you just clicked me. So on click of this button, that function is actually called. So what are we going to do? So I'm going to remove this log. So first of all, we want to extract the content of the height and width entered by the user. We want to also calculate the BMI having extracted the height and width, and then we want to add the BMI to our span element, which is, in our case, which is this element. This span element is empty. After calculating the BMI, we're going to add it to this particular span element. So let's take it step by step. So first, let's create a variable called the height, or h. Let's call it h. This h, we want to extract the content of the height that is being entered. So let's see document dot get element by id. So we are getting an element by id. So let's go back to our height. Consider this is our height. This is the input tag for our height. It has an id name height. So we want to extract, we want to access this element. So by id, so I've copied down the id. So element by id. So we're extracting a document. We're extracting an element by id, and the id is height. That id is the input tag, which is entered, the height entered by the user. Now, to actually extract the content from that particular tag, you use the value property. So we have extracted the height of the particular user. So let us do that the same thing for the width. Let's call the width hw. So we see document dot get element by id. So I'll go back and look for the id of the width. So in our own case, this is the id. So let's get that content and then put it down here, dot value. So to be sure that we are doing the right thing, I'm going to log the height. I'm going to log the width, which is w. So let's go back to our browser and let's reload. So this time from entering 1.3, 1.73, and let's say 65. If I click, see, so we actually log in what the user have entered. If I change it to 63, you can see 63. So we have started capturing what the user entered as height and width from Javascript. And so now, what's next? We calculate the BMI as we did in the last class, in the last lesson. So let's calculate the BMI. So let's define a variable called BMI. So our BMI now is equals to height, width, which is w, in bracket height times height. That's our BMI. So let's add BMI to the span tag. So we're going to do document. Let's get the spam tag object, which is document.get element by id. Get element by id. So what's the ID of the spam? So let's go. The ID of the spam is results. So let's get element by ID and call the result. So .inner. So the inner HTML, we want to set it to the variable which we have created, which is BMI. So if we do that, if we go back to our browser and reload, so 173.65. So our spam folder, our spam element is now carrying is now being given an inner HTML of the BMI. So this doesn't look good. You can style it. So you can see, so to review again, the first thing we did was to extract what the user enters height. So we use the document.get element by ID, and then the value that's been entered, we extract that of the width, and then we calculate the BMI. Then we give an inner HTML of our span element, which has an ID of results. We give it, we assign it to the BMI. Okay, so this our ID result. Let us style this span a bit. I'm going to go here in the CSS and style it. I'll say fonts, color. Let's give it a color of, let's say, 7, and then width of 100%. Text align, center. Okay, so 17365. Sorry. This is our ID selector. (7365). Okay, so I'm not comfortable with this color. Let's give it white. 65. Okay, so rather than use a normal function declaration to calculate our BMI, we can decide to use a functional expression. To do that, let us convert this function to a functional expression. So what we do is that we use this same name, we make this function an anonymous function, and then assign it to a variable. So you see, so we maintain the same name, and give a variable the same name with the previous function, then assign an anonymous function to create that variable. So let's go back in and look at it. So we have this before now. So we do is to remove this with the name, convert this function to anonymous function, and they use the same name, assign it to a variable with the same name of the previous function. So this will give us the same result. If we go back to our browser, okay, so let's test it and see. If we pull up with 73 and 65, we see we're getting the same thing. So whether you use the function or a name function, you will getting the same result. So let us now convert, instead of using the functional expression, let us use another function. So in the case of other function, it will the function keyword, and then let's put an arrow after the parenthesis. So this will give us the same kind of result. So let's come back here, reload, and then up with 73, let's say 64. So we're getting the same thing. So you can use a functional expression, you can use another function, you can also use a normal function to the normal unnamed function to actually write your function. So these three works for this project.